Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, we've got a deck that is floating around the top three. This deck has hit number one on the Infinite Leaderboard multiple times, but that's not it. We've got 5 frickin' decks for you, and so much more, all proven, all able to help you win and rank up in Marvel Snap. Before we get started, though, I want to let you know the Snap Grand Prix, we had our Swiss rounds happen yesterday. If you are watching this as it goes live at 8 a.m. on Sunday. The cut will be happening on It's Guest Gaming's Twitch channel. So if you want to check that out, please check it out. There are $1,000 in prizes on the line. In addition, the Snap Judgment League Season 2, you have 1 more week to sign up, so make sure you check that out. It is a $1 entry for the Patreon, just so that we don't lose a ton of money on it, with a $700 prize pool. You heard that right, $700 in prizes, 1 game a week. We'll be explaining all that in so much detail for you during the course of this week. But if you want to check it out, join the Discord linked in the description to this video, the Snap Judgments League Discord. All right, we have our top 16. We're going to go over this super quickly. First, I want to note, well, actually, let's save that note. Let's save what people are playing until tomorrow's video. Tomorrow, we will do a coverage video of the tournament. We're going to talk about what people played, what succeeded, and what we learned about the meta because of it in tomorrow's video. If you're interested in that, please check it out. This is a tournament that had 200 people, top Marvel Snap players from around the world. I don't know all of these players. These are people that chose to join the tournament, but Johnson is a famous player who often builds completely unique and distinct decks. I'm really excited to see what he's playing. Ishan Jain is a regular tournament grinder. Our friend Dubos, after rocking out on the Snap Judgments League and making the cut in that, has made the cut again in the Snap Grand Prix. Sanutora is another tournament grinder who has spent some time at number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard. Miley is another friend of ours who we featured multiple times on the channel, is one of Asia's top players and made the cut with a really cool list from what I understand. And Daggio and Comis are 2 of the very best players in the world. They are the Italian meta. Great meta that has been playing less Snap, but then wandered back into Marvel Snap and immediately made the top 16 of this major tournament. Gatos, Div, Donev, Primus 19, Sixational, Riandi, Wee, and Dr. Jolt are not players I know, but I'm excited to see some new names making it to the top of a tournament. Let's see how this cut goes tomorrow. Again, I am super excited to see what wins, and we will have a full breakdown in tomorrow's video. Our first deck today is from Woody. Woody is currently the number 5 ranked player on the Infinite Leaderboard. We've seen decks that look sort of like this floating around, the same basic concept of a deck. Woody basically took the build and said, let's play a few better cards here that give me some more flexibility. Why is Jean still showing as a 3-3? Whatever, Jean is still showing as a 3-3. Jean is now a 3-4. So, yeah, this has really taken off. This style of build, this style of ongoing build has taken off since the Jean buff with the Jean is a 3-4 and US Agent giving -4 power. I wanted to make sure I featured a deck that featured both of those cards, and this is a top ladder deck that has both of those. Cool. You can find Woody streaming all the time at twitch.tv/YoWoodyMJ. Woody is a absolutely phenomenal player, top-notch player. We talk fairly regularly, very good person. Jeff in this deck can be Lizard. Lizard is an ongoing, so it would get the Spectrum buff, and Lizard doesn't lose power for Luke Cage, so I think Lizard is a reasonable change. US Agent, Jean, and Man-Thing are kind of the point of this list. Iron Lad is, however, not nearly as important and can be either Ms. Marvel or Omega Red. If you're feeling a real feisty, you can throw in a Wong. Okay, so this has a 57% win rate in High Infinite, and again, this was played on ladder, and Woody is currently the number 5 ranked player, which means that this is beating other top-notch players. So turn 1, you play Ant-Man over Nightcrawler. As a general rule, Nightcrawler is very good, especially if you know you're going to drop Jean, but getting that potential 1-5 down is real nice. Be wary of Killmonger, who is in the meta, which is why I tend to prefer Armor turn 2, but I can... if I didn't play Ant-Man, I can easily go Mojo if I know I'm going to play Jean, because if I play Jean, Mojo's very likely to be a 2-8. Again, unbelievable stats, right? And those are generally better than Jeff. Jeff is, again, here, like Nightcrawler, to be in a Jean lane and then out of a Jean lane as necessary. Turn 3, Jean is your priority. This is ultimately a Jean deck. That's over Luke and over Cosmo. There are times when you'll have to get Luke out earlier, and that specific time is usually if you're playing a high evolutionary deck, you don't think they're running Rogue, and you think they're like trying to afflict you so they can run Abomination, get that out for cheap. Luke will turn that right off. Turn 4, you would like Man-Thing, preferably in that Jean lane. As they play their cheap things there, they get sort of wrecked for it. You should be able to move your stuff out of there, but they should get stuck there. If you don't have Man-Thing and you don't have the Luke Cosmo plays, Iron Lad is perfectly fine. I tend to use Iron Lad as a, oh crap, I didn't see Spectrum button in this list. Turn 5, I want a 3, and this is where I'd really like to play Luke with a 2, and that 2 I prefer being US Agent. Are they able to fill the Jean lane and playing their big stuff elsewhere? That's where I want to play US Agent. If they are not able to fill the Jean lane, then US Agent goes in there and Luke goes elsewhere. And then turn 6 is Spectrum, which is hopefully adding a ton of power to all the ongoings all over the board. And if you don't have Spectrum, you drop Iron Lad and whatever 2-drop is still in your hand. Make sense? Cool. This list is, again, very powerful. And hey, added bonus, we are 3 away from a full hip list. We're just a Mojo, a US Agent, and a Jean from this being a full hip list. And longtime viewers know I absolutely love hip art, and getting this close to full hip meant you knew I had to share this list. It's really cool. It is not a cheap list. I mean, it's not like ridiculously expensive, right? US Agent is a Series 5, Jean is a Series 5, but a Series 5 a lot of people have because it was the very first Spotlight. Iron Lad and Jeff are Series 5, but they're Series 5 that are like must-have to build rounds. So it's like a mid-expensive deck. The real problem here is US Agent and Man-Thing being cards I think not a lot of people have. Worry not, we will have some more decks for you if you don't have these cards. But first, please hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment. We're going to go over 5 decks in today's video, 4 with absolute full guides. We bring you the most top-notch proven decks of anyone in Marvel Snap. We cover all the news. We've also got a bundle guide. Everything you need for your Marvel Snap journey can be found here on this channel. We will show you the best members of the community to follow, everything you could possibly want. Hit that sub, hit that like, hit that comment. If you're already subbed and you want to help out the channel, not only like and comment, but watch for as long as you can. Let the video play out. The extra watch time really does help. All right, questions of the day. Jenksy asks why people rope so much. So I wish people didn't. I think it's ridiculous that people do. But there's 2 things to note about the constant roping in Marvel Snap right now. Thing 1 to note about the constant roping in Marvel Snap right now is there was that end turn bug for a while where people would just randomly not be able to end their turn and have no choice but to rope. Thing 2 is it is, unfortunately, if you are uber competitive, probably proper to rope and snap as late as possible, make decisions as late as possible. Opponents get frustrated people make mistakes. If you snap later in the turn, opponents, even with the undo button, have less time to change their mind to make a decision. That said, this is a game. There's not real money on the line most of the time, right? If I'm playing for fun, I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm trying to be respectful of other people's times, and I'd like to be able to let them have fun by playing Marvel Snap. If that's not you, hey, whatever. But it is technically probably proper to rope, as completely obnoxious as that is. Speaks in Circles wants to know what OTA means, so I'm going to explain this as fully as I can. OTA means over the air. There are 2 types of updates in Marvel Snap. One is OTA, which means over the air. You don't have to download a patch for your client. The other is a full patch, which you have to download for your client. Patches are always, at least for the past year, scheduled. They don't always happen, but they're always scheduled for Tuesdays, and OTAs are always scheduled for Thursdays. The basic schedule of these is OTA, patch, OTA, skip week, OTA, patch. So it goes basically patch, OTA, skip, patch. Skip, OTA. Good. So POSO is a good way to remember it. We had an OTA last Thursday. There will be a patch this coming Tuesday. Then we will have an OTA the next Thursday. Then it'll be a skip week. Cool. Good. Mandatory Burnout asks what SD can do to make up for the competitive advantages for PC players versus phone. So I don't think they care. Their argument would be most players have a choice of playing on phone or PC. So if they wanted that extra advantage, they'd just go play on the PC. It's not like it costs money to play on the PC that it doesn't for the phone or anything, so I don't think they care. It's my honest answer. Sorry if that's not one that makes you especially happy. Jeff the Magic Dragon says we need more buffs for underplayed cards like we did in the last OTA. And yeah, I agree completely. But what they're doing is they're taking like 3 or 4 cards at a time and buffing them slowly. They're not trying to create the perfect, most balanced thing ever in each OTA, which I think people really need to get a grasp of. They're not buffing and nerfing things to make the perfect game. They're buffing and nerfing things to make the game consistently interesting. They are slowly but surely buffing a lot of cards, and they have a lot of cards to buff, largely because Shang-Chi, well, because the game got power crept, right? But part of that power creep was Shang-Chi used to kill 9 power cards, now it kills 10 power cards, and because of that, they have this extra power to play with under 10, and so a lot of cards just deserve 1 extra power, and they're going through them slowly but surely, most recently getting Jane and Jean and so on. If you'd like your questions read out in tomorrow's video, please leave them in the comments. We are, again, looking for plenty of questions, so ask away. All right. We were going to cover this deck. This is KX4N's Destroy Junk Top 50. It is an excellent list, and you can find a description to it in the video. But on my way to making this, Dexter made a video on this deck, and, you know, Dexter's video is going to get like 30,000 views, right? So I felt like covering the exact same thing Dexter did would be sort of a disservice to my fans, although I didn't want anyone who did not watch that, who doesn't like or watch Dexter or doesn't know who Dexter is, humongous creator, seemingly very nice person. I don't know him well, but seemingly very nice person, did cover this list. I like to try and cover unique things first. So this is KX4N's list. You can find the description to it in the video if you want to play it. If you really want a guide for it, let me know in the comments and I'll write one up for you very quickly. But this is a very cool deck that's very powerful. KX4N is a mod for both KM and Lambie, and a competitive tournament player who's mostly free to play and has hit #1 on the Infinite Leaderboard. Excellent player, reached top 50 with this list, and here it is. Cool. So since we didn't do that, I decided to give you Gregor 2424's Darkslayer. This deck has a pretty big sample size of like 54-55% win rate play in Infinite, but no one's done a video on it, so I felt better showing it to you who might have missed that it's being played a lot and quite good. This is also a reasonably expensive list, but like the really expensive cards aren't necessary, and cards like Darkhawk and Silver Samurai are Series 4, so you can just grab them if you want. That's what's actually needed here. All right, so you can find our friend Gregor, who is going to be on the Snap Judgments podcast relatively soon, at twitch.tv/Gregor2424. Amazing human being. Gregor I know very well and like an awful lot. Please check out Gregor's stuff. Nico can be Echo, Nightcrawler, or whatever good 1-drop you would like in this. Jeff is the same basic concept as Nico, but you can add in White Medusa or White Widow or Medusa, or whatever powerful 2-drop you like. Red Guardian can be Mobius, Rogue, or Luke. But Darkhawk, Samurai, and Dakin are what makes this deck work. There are plenty of Black Bolt, Stature, and Nihilist lists out there right now. We showed you one on Friday if you're interested in that, but if you want to do this combo style of deck, then Darkhawk, Samurai, and Dakin are what make this deck itself. They're what gives it its identity. So, I am really enjoying Gregor brews. Gregor had a zoo list that I loved fairly recently. Gregor is, for those who don't know, the person responsible for the Toxic Surfer. He made a Surfer list that has Wong and Hazmat that you've probably seen at Magic and Mystique and so on, that almost everyone has seen at this point. That's Gregor's brew. I really love Gregor brews. I think that they are absolutely excellent, and that's why I'm featuring it, because this is worth playing. Did I write Korg? Oh, I messed up my order for this, did I? No, I didn't. I'm just losing my mind. Woo! It's been a long day. I'm recording this late at night. I was out with friends all day and came back to call about the tournament and so on. Please excuse me. So turn 1, I generally prefer Korg over Hood, unless I don't have Jeff. If I don't have Jeff, I would like to play Hood so I can go Korg and Demon next turn. Nico gets played whenever she's the right spell, right? If you have the Destroy 2 on turn 1, you obviously pretty much always play Nico. If you have the copy a card, you'll often play Nico on turn 1, but you don't want to copy Hood usually, right? So you want it to be you would like rather pass that, for example. But if you had Korg, you don't mind having a second Korg, because now you just played 2-4 worth of stats and got Rock Slide's ability instead of a 3-3. You see what I mean? Like, it depends what Nico is for when you play her. Turn 2, Jeff or 2 1s. I generally prefer 2 1s, but if the opponent is playing Junk, there is some value in Jeff taking up a spot that can be moved from. So if you see the opponent on Junk early, Jeff has value. Turn 3, Dakin or Rock Slide. I tend to aim for Dakin here. because a lot of the deck is Dakin. But if I have Dakin, I must also have either Silver Samurai or Killmonger, or there's not much choice. I'd rather play Rock Slide if not for the disruption. Red Guardian is obviously a key tech card. You play it when there's a good target. If there's a naked Luke Cage, or if there's an Angela that you have priority, then Red Guardian is great. Without that, you hold it until the right target appears. Turn 4 is Killmonger plus the Muramasa Shard, or Silver Samurai most of the time. If you didn't have either of those, Rock Slide is totally fine. Turn 5, Black Bolt. If you have that Muramasa Shard in hand because you ended up playing Dakin on turn 4 or whatever, that would switch up to Samurai. But generally speaking, you would like to get Black Bolt out. Black Bolt is very powerful. If you didn't play that hood, Samurai will get rid of your hood instead of anything else in your hand, so be careful with that Muramasa Shard and hood. But turn 5, generally speaking, Black Bolt. Once in a while, Darkhawk, but I prefer Black Bolt. If you already played Samurai, you can freely play Darkhawk instead of Bolt here. But Bolt is just good stats. And then, although you do have the opportunity, if you've already played Silver Samurai, to then drop Stature and Demon in that game, and you don't always with the other play lines. You can also potentially play Samurai and Demon on 5. Which is going to open up Darkhawk and Stature on 6, which is just a lot of power. And obviously, Darkhawk and either Stature or Demon is how you win the game at the end. One last look at this. Basically, what you're saying is I can disrupt you enough by discarding your cards and Killmongering / Red Gardening you that my mid-range power can win the game. My mid-range power being Darkhawk, Black Bolt, Stature, and that Demon. And sort of Dakin to an extent too. Cool. Makes sense. Hopefully you try this list. I had a lot of success with it so far. I've been playing this a lot. All right, I've advertised this very rarely on here in full, but let's tell you a bit about the Patreon and invite you to join. What we do on this channel is we release a video 7 days a week. 6 days a week, there's a Snap Take video, which is a video just like this, and then 1 day a week, there's a, generally speaking, 2-hour plus podcast with some of the best guests in Marvel Snap. Lauren Whatevs, Gunny T, and Joe from Snap Decisions are on the episode that's live from yesterday. Now, we have a Patreon that just helps us out. It's honestly what we use to run most of the tournaments and other things. The 3 tiers are the $1 tier, which we call the Show Love tier. This comes with, it's basically just saying thank you to the channel. It ends up being something like 30 cents a video because we put out 7 videos a week over a month. It's completely absurd how cheap it is per video if you decide to throw $1. It also gives you access to our exclusive tournaments like the Snap Judgments League. So if you ever wanted to play against Lambie or Tucker or .go or one of those players, then joining the Snap Judgments League is your way to do so. We also have the $5 tier. That's the Peace tier. That is early access to videos. You get constant content suggestions, podcast guest questions, deck doctor, and priority answers. Basically, it's an access thing. It gives you a lot of early access stuff. And our most popular tier, by far, is the $10 tier, which is the Peace and Love tier. Roy and I do a once-a-month exclusive podcast. I record at least 1 exclusive video a week. I try and do more, but at least 1. We do exclusive giveaways, mailbag question and answers, and end-of-daily video shoutouts, party questions, and everything else from previous tiers. I think it's a really great deal. We give you, again, like more Marvel Snap content than absolutely anyone. Please check it out if you're willing. We really, really appreciate it. All right. This is the number 2 deck in Snap as of recording. It has been number 1 multiple times. No one's talking about this, so I'm going to say it. I just literally am, like, I'm messaging Glenn about this because I think I'm very curious. The top 3 decks on the Infinite Leaderboard, top 3 players on the Infinite Leaderboard right now are playing Loki decks that look something like this. The number 6 deck is a slightly different Loki deck. So what's up with Loki? I think Loki is the best deck in Marvel Snap. I think this is the best deck in Marvel Snap. In the hands of the best players, they are dominating with it. They are fighting for number 1 with lists like this. Skull Zero, again, currently number 2, has been number 1 multiple times with this list. I went and found Skull Zero. Thank you to Miley for helping me do that. And I was like, hey, can I feature a list? Skull Zero said, absolutely. Here's the list. This is Skull Zero's list. That is number 2. You're not going to find this exact list anywhere else, except you probably can because Loki is number 1. And hey, anyone who's mad who went, I clicked the best list video for it to just be a Loki list, I got you another exclusive top 5 deck. That's why we're doing an extra deck today, because I didn't want to be like tricky and be like, haha, best deck, Loki again, gotcha. So we've got another exclusive top 5 deck after this. But the best deck in Marvel Snap is Loki, and it's time we I believe it's time we started treating it as such. All right, Skull Zero has been top 3 for literally weeks now. competing usually with Tanjo, who's the current number one, who's playing Loki off and on. And we had Crazy in number one with Thanos for a while, and then when he lost it, he went back to Loki to reclaim the number one spot. Now he's floating around the top three with Loki. So all top three are Loki. The only person who's been like number one this season, I believe, who's not playing a bunch of Loki is Woody, who's number 5 currently. So again, Skull Zero has been top 3 for a few weeks. We've had a ton of top ladder Lokis. Please check like multiple videos for that. For this deck, your changes are Snowguard and Maria Hill. You need Kitty for the top 3 versions. Elsa is sometimes Hope. Sometimes you run Hope and Elsa in this list. And Jeff can be Nightcrawler. Mockingbird can also be Dino. By the way, the most featured deck, including the King of Swiss in the Snap Grand Prix tournament from yesterday, you guessed it, Loki. Loki's the best deck. Here are no other options. All right, so ignore the top 150 one of best decks ever. That's actually from an older thing. This is again, exclusive top 3 deck, currently ranked number 2 and has hit number 1 several times at this point. Turn 1, Quinjet or Snowguard are generally better than Kitty. Getting those out is important in case you find Loki, because like Kitty is nice for Loki, but usually it doesn't get big enough now that she doesn't give +2 to make it a requirement to get her out before you Loki, so don't worry about that. Turn 2 is Angela versus Cable. If you have Loki already, I generally prefer Cable. If you're going to Coulson next, I prefer Angela because you don't want to overfill your hand and not draw Loki. If you already played Snowguard, I tend to go Angela, etc., etc. Although I guess Quinjet Cable makes some sense because then sometimes you can play the card. I'm just very careful with hand space in this because you can fill yourself up too much and either not give yourself a chance to draw Loki or fundamentally either not give yourself a chance to draw Loki or not give yourself any space to do more card generating cards. The easiest way to do that usually is you just go Snowguard on 1 and Coulson on 3, and then you're kind of screwed. So just be wary of that as you play. Turn 3 is Coulson versus Elsa, and generally speaking, we're talking about the same hand size consideration things as before. Turn 4, if you have the ability and you've played some generated cards, Mockingbird is great. Loki is obviously your priority on turn 4 or turn 5 for most matchups. There are matchups you don't Loki. In particular, if you're facing a Cerebro deck, don't Loki. And if you're facing usually don't Loki if you're playing a Cerebro deck. And if you're playing against like a discard list, you don't want to Loki. Against a Destroyer list, you want to Loki with a really big hand because you want to try and get their death and null and let them do the work to make him big, etc. Cool. Loki over Mockingbird. Obviously, generated cards could change your plays in either of those instances. And turn 6, if you didn't manage to Loki, you're trying to get a Shang down, usually with like a Kitty and a generated card. And that's how you win with this deck. It puts out enough power when it doesn't see Loki to be competitive with most things. And when it sees Loki and you're playing their deck for cheaper than they are, you just have so much power that they can't compete with. And remember, if you have Loki and Snowguard, you can play a competitive version of Loki. Snowguard's not needed, but like if you're not top ranked right now, I believe you're still probably seeing a lot of magic, and Snowguard is your answer, your way to just straight up dominate that matchup. All right, the second deck. I told you I would give you an extra deck. I wasn't going to let you down. This is RS Berries 4/5s by 6. So this is, again, a top infinite list. RS Berry has played, I believe he's around rank 7 or 8 right now, has hit top 5 multiple times this season with different lists. This is the current list that is doing really well. I think it's super duper cool. I don't know why Snapzone refuses to show me the updated cards for this, but whatever, stature is now a 5/7, not a 5/6. Yeah, this is a very, very powerful list. It does the Black Bolt stature thing, and it does the Annihilus thing, much like Ika's Anature, but the extra spice here is it adds both a Mockingbird for the Mysterio Squirrel Grow package and a Storm, and Storm is so good right now. We thought War Machine would take it. War Machine isn't even played. Storm is still great. All right, so RS Berry is floating around the top 5. Annie is the only high series card you actually need here. What? Hi, buddy. My son just woke up. I'm recording. Can you please go back to bed? Okay, you gotta go to bed, though. It's really late. All right, I'm going to rush the rest of this. I'm really sorry, so I can go make sure he gets to bed. So Annie is the only high series card needed. Nico and Nebula can be Iceman, Spider-Ham, Sunspot, or Ant-Man. Jeff can be Nightcrawler. Wait, what does it say? Widow. Excuse me. This is just completely wrong. All right, I have the turn by turn for this written right. Let's do this. Sorry. Again, can't get this kid to bed, so it's been a rushed little bit of a mess. All right, Jeff can be any good 2-drop or Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is probably your best change. If you don't have Mockingbird, you also want to cut Mysterio for another 2-drop, and you want to add, well, I guess you're stuck adding a powerful 4 at that point, right? You're adding something like Crossbones. Negasonic could be Juggernaut in this list, but I think Negasonic is generally better. You need a Nihilus. Cool. You need a Nihilus, and if you're going to run Mysterio, Mockingbird, you run Mysterio, but you don't need those two. All good? A Nihilus is still the only high series card you need. Everything